So now we're looking forward to some really fantastic presentations today. We thought it was great to align the presentation today with a lot of the work that's been going on in the centers and institutes, because we've been reading about them and we frequently talk about them, but we thought we would highlight some of the work in those centers with our speakers today. So I'm going to ask Vice Chancellor Barbara Entwistle to introduce our first speaker, Rick Luettich, who's the Director of the Institute of Marine Sciences, and Tom Carsey, the Director of the Odum Institute for Research in the Social Sciences. Then Ron Strauss, Senior Vice Provost and Chief International Officer, will introduce Joseph Jordan, who's the Director of the Stone Center for Black Culture. And then our Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Winston Crisp, will introduce the Director of the Carolina Women's Center, Christy Hurt. Barbara, thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. I'm going to introduce each in turn as they speak, so I'm beginning with my introduction of the Institute for Marine Sciences, which we abbreviate as IMS, and Rick Luettich, its director. It's really a pleasure and honor to do this, and I will first say just a little bit about each. So, as you know, periodic review of centers and institutes is policy here at Carolina, and we take these reviews seriously. Last spring, my office collaborated with the Dean of the Graduate School to undertake a joint review of the Department of Marine Sciences in the college and the Institute of Marine Sciences, which reports up to me. This was a serious review committee. It was chaired by Dr. James T. Hollabaugh, who is from the University of Georgia. Other members were Dr. John Ogden from the University of South Florida, who before his retirement served for 20 years as director of the Florida Institute of Oceanography, a statewide consortium of 20 agency, university, and marine laboratory members. Another member was Dr. Susan Lozier, distinguished professor of Earth and Ocean Sciences at the Nicholas School at Duke University. And there's always an internal member of these groups, and ours was Dr. Stephen J. Walsh, distinguished professor of geography and director of our Galapagos initiative. This group met and was here on campus for 3 days last spring. They spent time here on campus and they spent time at the coast. To prepare for this, they read detailed self-studies of both of these units and came with a lot of questions and interviewed everybody involved, including myself. There were different parts of the report which dealt with the department and with the Institute for Marine Sciences, and I just want to read you a few quotes from the part that dealt with the IMS. So here they are. Quote, IMS is one of the premier marine laboratories in the country. Quote, its programs are highly relevant to the state of North Carolina and to science and society more generally. Quote, the IMS faculty is extraordinarily productive, and most are nationally and internationally recognized for their research, which includes significant contributions to the policy and management of marine resources. Quote, IMS is also home to outstanding graduate students for UNC-Chapel Hill departments such as marine science, biology, environmental sciences. These graduate students are highly energetic, resourceful, creative, and dedicated. Quote, the semester-long undergraduate field course taught at IMS is a hallmark of the UNC instructional program for undergraduates. And quote, faculty, students, and staff morale is high. And the word family was heard repeatedly during our interviews with various subsets of the IMS population. In my view, this is one of the jewels of the crown, in the crown of the university. So let me now say a few words about its director, Dr. Rick Luettich. Rick has published nearly 100 peer-reviewed articles and received more than $30 million in research funding from the Department of Homeland Security, NOAA, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the National Science Foundation. He is that special scholar whose research makes almost an immediate difference to the citizens of the state and the country. With Rick in the driver's seat, the success of this institute is really guaranteed. So it's really my pleasure to introduce Rick, and he will introduce you also to a graduate student and an undergraduate associated with this institute. Thank you.
Boy, thank you very much. I hope I can live up to that introduction. Chancellor Folt, Chairman Cottle, Board of Trustees, it's just a pleasure to be able to come in and talk to you for a few minutes about the Institute of Marine Sciences. We're down on the coast in Morehead City in Carteret County, about 175 miles from here. We have labs like they do on campus inside our buildings, but our real strength is that our major laboratory is outside. It's the barrier islands, it's the sounds, it's the estuaries, it's the coastal waters of North Carolina. This is where we do our work and have our impact, and it's so important to be there. What's at stake? What are the issues that North Carolina deals with? Well, quite frankly, it's hazardous living there. We're in Hurricane Alley, and there's considerable potential for flooding and economic loss to the citizens there. We have issues of water quality. We've had fish kills. We've had harmful algal blooms in the past. And we're always concerned whether our waters continue to be safe to swim in, our seafood safe to consume and to sell across the country and internationally. Our marine resources definitely need science-based management so that we can take good use of them today, but make sure they're there for tomorrow. And along those lines, our population, our citizens really need to understand and appreciate the wonderful resources we have, whether they live there or whether they just visit, so that they'll be there for future generations. All of these are critical reasons why the university should be engaged in the North Carolina coast. Well, why Carolina specifically? Why a Carolina Institute of Marine Sciences? The issues there are very complex and highly interdisciplinary, and the Carolina campus has world-class researchers, not just in the natural sciences, but in the social sciences, in medicine, in public health, in business, in law. All of these are resources that we can reach back to, draw on, and they really are the strength of the institute that we have on the coast. Also, the construct of centers and institutes and the culture we have here as being highly interdisciplinary organizations that can cut across departmental boundaries is just perfect for the Institute of Marine Sciences and the issues that we deal with there. And just to crow a little bit about Carolina's role on the coast, we were the first North Carolina university there. Professor Wilson, the namesake of Wilson Library, started teaching summer courses there in the late 1800s, and we've had a more or less continuous presence there ever since. We have approximately 75 active extramurally funded research projects at any time. We have 11 resident faculty there. I would just love to tell you about all of them. However, Dr. Entwistle said that wouldn't be allowed. And so I'm focused on Dr. Rachel Noble. She arrived at the Institute a little over a dozen years ago, and at that time, to test the water for pathogens, to know whether it was safe to swim and eat food from it, it took 1 to 3 days. That's a real concern about the safety of those waters. Her molecular methods and genetic fingerprinting allow us to do those tests today in about an hour and a half, so that we can realistically tell people whether the beaches are safe to swim at, the seafood, particularly the shellfish, are safe to eat that come out of our waters. She has a patent, another patent pending. She has made great connections with the private sector, and the testing kits based on the methodologies she's developed are now in production and commercialization. And she runs every 6 months a workshop for professionals from the outside. They pay to come to IMS for a week and learn these methods so they can take them back to other parts of our state, other parts of the country, and in fact internationally, so they can be used for a variety of these types of tests and assessments so that we know that our waters are safe. Her research is just a wonderful example, and her presence is a wonderful example of engaged, high-impact research for the citizens of North Carolina, as well as the country and the globe. We are primarily a research institute, at least by classification, but those of us that are in academia know that education and research are inextricably intertwined, and that's what our strength is. We have graduate students at our resident population that are working with our faculty. We also have a variety of undergraduate programs. One is a semester-long field site, and one of the undergraduate students is with me here today, and she'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a minute. Also, we're heavily involved in outreach, in service, and engagement. Talk about student entrepreneurship. 2 of our graduate students 2 years ago started SIREN, the Science Research and Education Network, which connects STEM scientists, graduate students, technicians, faculty with K-12 science teachers to develop curriculum that meet the North Carolina standard course of study, but that are informed by cutting-edge research. It started out in Carteret County, predominantly around marine sciences, but it's been so popular that last fall in November, they had a big workshop in Raleigh at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, had 120 scientists from all of the Triangle universities involved, 350 educators from 40 counties attended, and they worked not just on marine sciences, but all aspects of STEM science that we have to offer within the Triangle area. Wonderful activity that, again, is just an example of the active engagement and outreach that goes on at the Institute. Very briefly, the Institute has about a 6.3-acre campus, 60,000 square feet of lab and office space, a rather old and dilapidated dorm that nevertheless is very heavily used, particularly in the summertime, outside facilities, a flow-through seawater system, just things that really let us do a great job on the coast. And this supports 75 to 110 people, depending on the time of year, faculty, students, staff, all working there, research, education, and engagement. I mentioned how logical, how appropriate it is for us to be part of Carolina because of the facilities and the resources that are available here. I will just point out that our 11-member faculty couldn't do it all. Most of our faculty have joint appointments in more than one department on campus. Over half of our extramural funding has at least one PI that's campus-based as a part of them. We have strong connections back to the campus, and truly the students are a big part of that connectivity back to the campus. The Institute doesn't have, it isn't a degree granting unit, so all of the students, whether they're graduate students or undergraduates, are in departments on campus and are at our facility working with them. And again, I have a couple of students with me, and I'll let them tell you a little bit more about that. Just to wrap up, our value, we have 75 active grants worth about $30 million currently. Each year, that brings in between $6 and $8 million of external funding to the university, a lot of which is spent in eastern North Carolina and is in and of itself an economic stimulus. But the research, the education, the engagement that these allow us to do are all targeted at issues of great importance to eastern North Carolina. We really offer a premier, immersive educational experience for our students. We strive to be, and I really think we achieve, being one of Chapel Hill, one of Carolina's prime examples of engaged scholarship. And I just want to end with an open invitation. Please come visit us. Set up an appointment, or if you're at the coast, you see the well and the UNC on the side of the building, pull into the parking lot and walk into the front door. We'd be happy to show you around, show you all of the great stuff that's going on. And so with that, let me introduce a couple of students. First, Jenny Hughes, who's an undergraduate who spent the fall semester with us this year, and let her tell you just a little bit about her experience.
Hello, my name is Jenny Hughes. I'm a junior environmental science major, marine science minor, and I spent the 2014 fall semester at IMS at the Morehead City field site. During a typical week at the field site, we attended 2 classes, one on marine ecology and the other on the human impacts on marine ecosystems. We would spend about 10 to 20 hours a week in the field or in laboratories working on our collaborative group Capstone Project. This year, our Capstone Project was on oyster reef restoration. And then we would spend an additional 10 or more hours working on our independent research projects. Mine was focused on mud crab behavior. Learning how to juggle all this field work with classes and research was very challenging, but I feel like I grew so much more as a science student than I have in any semester here on campus. I have really become excited about my major and about pursuing a career in marine science, and I really owe the spark to that passion to this field site experience and to the family of researchers at IMS. Thank you.
And now Avery Paxton, who's a graduate student at IMS.
Good morning. My name is Avery, and I am a PhD student in the biology department. This is my 3rd year of graduate school, and I spent my first year here in Chapel Hill and the next 2 years on the coast at IMS. My research is on offshore reefs of North Carolina that include shipwrecks and coral reefs. These reefs are valuable fish habitat, but are remarkably unstudied. And IMS has given me the opportunity to access and study these sites because of its proximity to the water its incredible boating and diving resources, and its community of passionate and supportive colleagues. But truly it's more than that. Because IMS is located in the heart of coastal North Carolina, I've had the privilege to interact with and learn from local fishermen, divers, and even folks from government agencies in both official settings and unofficial settings, such as the gym and the fish market. And this integration with the community is unique to IMS and has certainly enhanced the quality and value of my research. So thank you for your support for IMS and for inviting us here to speak with you today.
If you have any questions, I know I'm happy to do my best, and our students would be more than happy to answer any questions you might have. Please.
On the shipwreck piece that you're working on, how much are you going down and looking at the wreckage themselves versus the reefs that are on them?
Good question. So the coast of North Carolina, as some of you may know, is referred to as the graveyard of the Atlantic because there's thousands of shipwrecks. And so what we're interested in is the biology of these wrecks, but we often work hand in hand with archaeologists who are doing those types of surveys. Does that answer it?
I want to ask about mud crab behavior, but maybe I'll catch you later on that one. Having been out on a lot of nights walking along beaches, I bet you, are they in the reef, or where do they live?
They're typically in marshes, so
they're marshes.
Maybe not quite along the beach, but yeah, they're in the marsh area, in oyster reefs, which went along well with our Capstone Project. So, but yes, I was looking at the effects of hunger on their behavior, their eating behavior in the presence of higher order predators.
So how did you decide to get involved? I mean, I think it's just great for us to understand what sparks the interest when you're an undergraduate. I know going down there sounds like that really did get you really excited, but how did you find your way there?
Well, the advising staff here on campus are very good at promoting our field sites. Particularly, I'm interested in ecology, and Professor Greg Ganji, I talked with him about what a good fit, what a good field site would be for that interest, and he recommended the Morehead City field site, also because there's, a big interest in marine systems as of late and continuing to rise. So it was really people on campus, but also students who have done this field site program before me have had nothing but good things to say about it, and I know we have nothing but good things to say about it to future students. So.
Last question for Rick. Where does the funding come these days for this type of work? What kind of agencies support this pretty successful grant activity?
Well, first off, our faculty are incredibly resourceful, and so wherever they can find funding, they get it. National Science Foundation, most of the primary funding, national funding agencies, were outside of the health arena for the most part, so I'm not sure that we've had much NIH money, but many of the national agencies, NOAA, I get money from the Army Corps and the big grant center from the Department of Homeland Security. But we also work very closely with our state brethren. Right next to our facility is the State Division of Marine Fisheries, and we have over $1 million of active funding of collaborative research with the state. So we really get it from all levels of the federal government as well as the layers of the state and local governments even. Yeah.
Do you have any space for exhibits or even education seminars? You have an incredible number of visitors to the coast that would be fascinated by some of the work you're doing and have no way of access.
We have tried to do a little bit better in those regards. We are first and foremost a research and academic educational institution, but we really have tried even little things about bringing some of the work done at the Institute. Literally wrote the book on the North Carolina shells, and one of our faculty has an incredible collection that much of which has been moved up to the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences, but just simple things like putting display cases out for those. We have a large screen in our lobby that tries to display some of the things we do. So we've been moving gradually in that direction. The capstone, that work that the field site does, always engages the public, and we tend to have 20 to 50 members of the public attend the final presentation. Little steps in this direction, but we're really probably space limited a bit to do a lot of that. Where we do connect extensively is with the educational system, particularly locally within Carteret County, and as I mentioned, even broadly in the Triangle. So we look for our opportunities to do that, but we're clearly not in a situation of being able to compete with I mean, we have a wonderful aquarium, for example, across the sound from us, and a lot of that goes on there, but we have programs there. So we try to use those facilities and bring our expertise to that aspect. Well, again, thank you so much for this opportunity, and come visit us. We'd love to have you, and you just can't imagine the enthusiasm and the spirit that's down there, and the passion of the students and the faculty and the staff. So, thank you very much.